Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Put Finances, a show where we discuss money and how to use it in our homes. I'm Spark, your host, and welcome to my blanket fort. Let's get started. Today we're going to discuss budgeting. So right off the bat, let's start with some statistics. One source said that 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 78%. Sources are down in the descriptions below. 78%. That's basically 4 out of 5 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, if you don't know what we mean by that, what we mean by that is essentially you get your paycheck and you immediately spend it on necessities and other things that you need, and by the time you're done, you basically have nothing left over. Very little to zero discretionary funding available. This can obviously be very bad and very unpleasant way of living, as it doesn't give you the opportunity to save up for your retirement, to save up for your kids' college, to save up for your future, for the emergencies that might be coming around the bend. And you might be thinking, well, this is only the lower class, only people who don't know how to work have to deal with this type of lifestyle. And actually, no, the studies suggest that this paycheck to paycheck lifestyle spans all income ranges. So we're not talking about a lack of income. When we talk about a paycheck to paycheck crisis, we're not talking about lower income. We're talking about people who don't know how to manage their money. And that's why we're here today. Let's talk about how to budget. Budgeting is all about creating a written goal for your future. What will my money do, right? In the English language, there's past, present, and future tense in the way we talk about things. I ran, past tense. I am running, present tense. I will run, future tense. When it comes to handling our money, we need to consider the future tense. We can consider past tense too, and in fact, that's very wise. It'd be important for you to sit down and look at your expenses month after month after month, every month, to look at your expenses and say, what happened? Where did my money go? That's past tense, and that's important. But a budget is about the future. What will my money do? And so you have to do this at the beginning of the month or before the month starts. It doesn't do us any good to plan for the month of July halfway through the month of July. It's already halfway over. So this needs to happen day one or before that given month. The recommended method of budgeting here is called zero-based budgeting. And I got it from Dave Ramsey. I've been using it for several years. I'm a huge fan of it. Here's how this works. You start off by taking your expected income. How much money am I expecting to make this month? Again, you have to do this before the month starts, otherwise it doesn't really work. So we take that and we're going to subtract from it our fixed expenses. What's a fixed expense? A fixed expense is any expense that you can expect is going to be the same month after month. Examples of this, of course, are rent or mortgage, any car payments you have, any other loan payments you might have to make month after month after month, where it's the same amount and you can expect it. Fixed expenses are pretty easy to plan for because they're the same every month. You know what's coming. Once you've subtracted those from your expected income, then you subtract your variable expenses, and your variable expenses are the things that are different month after month after month, such as your gas or your groceries, or whether you're going to go buy shoes, or whether you're going to go to the movies this weekend, or those kinds of things that are not constantly repeating. And just to give you some other examples there, you need to plan for things that are part of your life, right? This budget needs to be built around you and your family. So for example, my wife and I have a category in our budget just for gaming. My wife and I are big gamers. It's one of the ways we've always bonded ever since our first date. So we have a category for just gaming. I have a category for tennis and golf stuff because I like to go golfing and play tennis a lot, and those things cost money sometimes. So whatever's important to you, whatever you wind up spending money on a lot in your family, you can create a category for that. And then when you're going through your budget, you plan on how much money you're going to spend in that category. So we have our expected income minus our fixed expenses minus our variable expenses should equal zero when we're done. That's why it's called zero-based budgeting. Income minus outgo equals zero every time. And you need to do this every month. Let's practice this together. Let me show you, if you're still not quite sure how this works, let me show you. In one of my previous videos regarding paying yourself first, we discussed how the average American gross income is about $61,000. Take out taxes, we're about $50,000 of net income, which means that our monthly income would be around $4,100. Okay, so let's just use those numbers. You might be above this. You might be above average, in which case, good for you. You might be below this, in which case, don't worry about it. We all have to figure out how to work with the money and the income that we have in order for us to succeed. So let's work with these numbers and recognize that when it comes to your family, you're going to need to adjust it appropriately. So we have an income of $4,100 or so. Let's start with our fixed expenses. We know we're going to be PYFing. And if you don't know what PYF means, again, it stands for pay yourself first. I have another video on this same channel where I explain that more in depth. You should definitely watch it. PYF is 10%. So you're going to take that $416.67 and set it into your savings account. Then, if you're going to follow the law of the Old Testament like I do, you might pay 10% to tithing. That tithing can go to your religious organization. If you're not religious, that can go to a charity or a cause that you choose to support. Those are fixed because they happen month after month. You know they're coming. Then, of course, we have our rent or our mortgage. And in that PYF video, it talked about how you never want to spend more than 30% of your income on housing. So here at the $1,200 a month, that does fall under that 30% rule. Let's say we have a car payment of $475 a month, and then we have a couple subscriptions that total up to about $52 a month. We've now gone through our fixed expenses in this hypothetical situation and our subtotal of how much we've already spent before the month began. Let me back up. When I say already spent, I'm saying we've already spent it on paper. We haven't spent it, the month hasn't even started, maybe, but we're spending it up here. We've spent it on paper. It's planned. So in our mind, it's already gone. We've spent $2,500 plus, which means subtracting that from our income of the $4,166, we have about $1,600 left. Notice how we've already done all of this before the month even began. All right, so moving forward, we take that $1,600 and we go through our variable expenses. And this is where you're going to have to get very subjective into your situation. Like the gas here. In this example, we're saying we're going to plan on spending $95 on gas, but how many vehicles does your family have? How often do you drive? Do you use public transportation? How far away is work? You're going to have to consider those things. Planning for food, planning for how much you're going to spend on clothes or other apparel, your hobby, your spouse's hobby, you're paying for your pets, right? Whatever it is that you need to fit into your family's budget, you're going to need to do that, and you will need to do it with your spouse because you're a team and you need to be on the same page. My wife and I also like to have a category that's our miscellaneous or our wiggle room category. If we have any money left over after we've gone through all of our fixed and all of our variable expenses, if we still have some money left over, we'll stick that into our wiggle room category for the unexpected expenses. Maybe at the first of the month you weren't expecting to host a party with all of your friends, and then a week into it, everybody's like, hey, let's go over to his house, woo! And you're like, oh, okay, sure. And so you have to go and spend another $60-$70 on party stuff. Okay, that's good. I mean, if you've got it in your budget, if you've got the wiggle room in the budget, then that's perfectly fine. If you don't, if by the time you've gone through this after you've PYF'd, that's got to be first. I can't stress that enough. Paying yourself first. You've got to go watch that video. Links in the description below. After you've paid yourself and you've built up your savings, if after all of this you don't have enough money to throw a party, what are you going to do? You're not going to throw the party because you don't have any money. And you might say, Spark, that's what credit cards are for. No. Bad. No. We'll get to credit cards another day. So, at the end of all of this examination of the variable expenses, you have that subtotal, and you should be able to subtract all of these fixed and variable expenses from the expected income and be at zero. Hence why it's called a zero-based budget. And that's it. That's all budgeting needs to be. You sit down with your partner, you go through what you're expecting to spend for the month, and you spend every dollar of it on paper before the month begins. Why do we do this? Because it's impossible to overspend. It's impossible to overspend if you've already spent everything. Again, spent it up here, spent it on paper, not spent it in real life. But you get the idea. right? And this will help us curb our impulses to buy things that we didn't plan on buying. Again, like the party. Hey, let's go have a party at your place. I don't have any money to do that. Let's do it next month. I'll work it into my budget. What an adult, mature thing to say, right? Yeah, they're going to make fun of you for being a prude, but guess what? You're going to retire rich and they won't. Speaking of keeping up with the Joneses. So, take control here of your money. So what's the best method of actually doing this? What's going to be the easiest way of doing this? Well, one example is you can do it through Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. And in fact, I have a whole series of videos, 2 different series of videos, one for Microsoft Excel, one for Google Sheets, here on this channel that you can go look at as well, where I show you the budget that my wife and I use, the system, and I show you step by step on how to build it for you and your family. If that interests you at all, of course, go take a look at that. If that's not your cup of tea, if you look at that and you're like, woo, that's way too much work for me, well then, don't do that. Maybe another one I could recommend would be the Every Dollar app that's produced by Dave Ramsey and his team. I've had lots of my students use that and they've really liked it. They said it's very clean and crisp and it's free and very friendly. So I'd recommend you can go take a look at that. Links in the description below. If you hate phones and you're not interested in doing that, then just good old-fashioned pen and paper. Just get a notepad and just have a different sheet for every month or something like that. It doesn't matter what you use. And that's the grand question here at the end. What's the best system? The best system is the system you're going to actually use. If you look at that Excel sheet and you're like, that's way too much work, then don't try it. If you hate phones and you hate apps and you don't get it, then don't do it. Do what's going to work for you, because by far the most important part of this entire process is that you do it. You have to do it every month before the month begins. Zero-based budgeting. Simply put, this is the best way to manage your money. It's impossible to overspend, and it makes credit cards redundant. Good luck. Hello everyone. Welcome to my face.